Okay, well, welcome everybody to our first meeting for International GWIS chapter for 2022. I'm Dr. Susan Fetics, and as you see, I'm the international president. And also I'm one of the founding members. I'm a biochemist based in Dublin, Ireland. So, overview of the presentation, I'll talk about how our membership has been growing and some of the programs that we went through in 2021. There was a survey that went out, and you guys, those that participated, had great feedback. So I'll go over those results, and then we'll feed that into programs for 2022. And so just to introduce the officers, you see we have Judy, who's president, who's the domestic president. I believe Tucci, I saw her logging in, the international vice president, Nigeria. Alice is our domestic vice president, and Imelda in Nigeria is the liaison. I see Robin, you're the treasurer of Virginia. Sorry, you're hidden by my little screen. Then we have Mabuba, who is our new secretary. She came on board this year. Also, Kemi, you see Oluwa Kemi, but we call her Kemi. She's the president of the Nigerian subchapter, and I'll talk about that a bit. And then Francisca and Julie, they're the advisory chairs, one domestic and one based in USA. So it was exactly 1 year ago when I was preparing for our first meeting for 2021. And at the time, we had 50 members and we were scattered over 24 countries. You see the red dots, and that's what we have here. And so then it was interesting when it was 13th of January, 2022, looking at how it's grown, that now we have 140 members, almost tripled. And we've added 7 more countries to us. 8 more countries. And those are in the purple stars. Let me just, okay. Yes, so you see the chapter has grown a bit in the past year. And so welcome everyone. And you see I have it broken down that some people are listed on the top right corner. I have it listed, some are members international, some members are at large, and then there's some that are tier 2 and tier 3. And if you add that up, it does not add up to 140 members. But that's because we're just having some issues with actually how everybody is categorized in the GWIS membership directory that I assure you I am working on, and us officers are working on, to try and make it the easiest as possible so that all international GWIS members can find the other international GWIS members, because we want you guys to network and collaborate and know each other. So that's why I have over 140 people on the email list, but they're not all found in the directory in a cohesive manner. So that's one of the things that we're working on. So just going over the meetings for the past 14 months, you see since October of 2020, we've had 11 meetings. So 10 of them were chapter meetings of the international chapter. And that's where we have the topics here, where we had informal meetings and then also the Nigerian subchapter. And then when we started the YouTube channel, you'll see in January of 2021, we had a session on scientific education, on mentorship, and on funding. And so for those who are new members, you can go back to the YouTube channel and watch those. And then we had a couple of events that were not recorded when we did the I Am Remarkable, which was spread over a Saturday and Sunday of that weekend in April of 2021. And then we just had an open discussion about COVID, because we are women in science and we are global. So it is cool to hear how this pandemic is affecting us both personally and professionally. And then at the end of 2021, we really focused hard on helping our members with the GWIS Fellowship that now is closed, and I'll talk a bit about. And then other than those meetings, in June, we encouraged our members to join the national meeting. And as part of the encouragement, we suggested that members who are going to either present posters or have lightning talks, registration will be free as long as you get in before when the abstracts were due. And I even participated as one of those. I did a poster that I'll talk about. So that's something that you can avail of as a member of the international chapter, as long as, we're still doing things remotely. So this is the poster that I presented. Starting in 2020, I collected content from any member of the international chapter. And so the project is called the Global Voices Project, Hearing Our International Sisters in Science During This Pandemic. And so I want to mention these are the 5 people that participated. We have Dr. Tara Masad, who's in Mozambique, Michelle Booz, who's in South Dakota, Julie Ely, who's a professor at Penn State, and then Gurjat Kaur in India, where I did an interview with her. And the videos are posted on our YouTube channel. However, for the photo essays, our website is still under construction, and I'll talk about that once we stop the recording. It'll be part of the open discussion, but just to let you know, we have this content and we're just still working to build our website. So it'll be all in one place for our membership to get to read each other's content, where we can have articles. And then also we plan to do a second call 2 years into the pandemic for people to submit. It can be a video or photo essay or any other online content, just to discuss any aspect of the pandemic that you would like to, whether it's personal or professional or both. So as I mentioned, at the end of 2021, we were focusing hard on the GWIS Fellowship applications, because we want to help as many members as possible in the international chapter to win funding. And so we all know that the GWIS mission is to build a global community that inspires, supports, recognizes, and empowers women in science. So this fits perfectly with the mission. We had 7 applicants who submitted their grant proposals, and then we had 9 reviewers who read we had 9 reviewers total, and at least 1 reviewer read each of the applicants and gave feedback, whether that's simply sentence structure or more in depth about the science and the ideas that obviously we want to help each other to submit the best proposal possible in order to have women in our chapter be funded by these fellowships, because they really can help build your career. And so I know we had 7 applicants participate with the reviewer process, but I believe we had other applicants who did not have their grant proposal reviewed by fellow members. So we may have, in total, the chapter possibly had around 10 members that submitted applications, which is great. So it was due on the 10th of January. And I don't know when the results are announced. We can talk about that later. Judy or Robin may know, as being the officers that are based in the States. And so this was just a test run. The idea is that we want to further expand this funding or communication opportunities where fellow members of the international chapters will help each other, whether it's with editing or feedback, to support, to review and read it over and then give ideas. And then also I will be sending out a survey. You'll see that survey is becoming a theme, but I'll be sending out a survey to both the applicants and reviewers just to get feedback, because, as scientists, we need data. So surveys really help to give data about what's going on and the dynamics of the chapter. And this can help us get funding to help with more programming. So also some of the activities that we have the WhatsApp chat going on. So if anybody wants to join that, right now we have 20 members. You can send me an email with your phone number and I can add you to the chat. We have the Nigerian subchapter, which now we're gonna launch monthly meetings with them in order to have programs to help them further their careers. International Women's Day of 2021, and International Women's Day is always on the 8th of March, and that's what I'm showing here on the right-hand side. It's a collage of all the women who participated when I asked if people wanted to show what are they doing on the day. And so as you see, I have everyone located where they are in, what country they're in, and then just the one line about what they were doing that day, myself included. And so I'll go over the survey results. That's going to be next, where I do have to say it was wonderful that at the time over the summer we had 100 members and there were 25 responses. So that's a 25% response. So it was great feedback, and you'll see when I go over the results. And then we also participated. Robin led the charge for a student virtual science fair. And so for this, we can talk about it later, because the science fair is based in Virginia, and the students, they're teenagers. They all submit online content with videos explaining their projects, and they have the different writing, the project summary and their results. So it can be done from anywhere in the world, and it was really cool to do, because I enjoyed seeing what the kids are up to today. And so other than that, activities from last year, attending regular meetings, or while we're here in the Zoom chat, how I ask everyone to type in their name, their discipline, and their location. This is a perfect opportunity. If you see someone who's also a microbiologist, and if you're interested in collaboration, I love everyone paying attention to the discussion going on, but at the same time, feel free to direct message each other and connect if you want to connect because you're in the same location, or if you're in the same field, in order to build network and collaborate, or just to get to know each other because you have something in common with your professional and personal careers. So quickly, I'll go over the survey that went out in May. And as I mentioned, we had 25% response, which was wonderful. So I made it an open survey with just asking 2 basic questions. What meeting topics would you like to have discussed at our monthly meetings? And also, what would you like to gain from the membership? And so those basically can work into what we can provide each month for everyone for the meetings. And so I have it as a pie chart on the left-hand side, broken down by percentage, and then in parentheses, just the number of votes. And then on the right-hand side, I have a table. And so we see number 1, what people were requesting from from being a member of this chapter is global networking and also collaboration. So we can absolutely work on that. And then different supports for career progression, which of course we're working on. And then you see next is funding opportunities, which we address that specifically with the GWIS Fellowship. And then also discussing teaching and mentoring, which was one of the events that we held last year. But if there will definitely be further discussion on that, so we can have a follow-up event. Next is motherhood and also a work-life balance. And then the idea of budgeting and salaries, and also I would say salary negotiations, because I know as women, sometimes perhaps it's hard for us to find our voices and understand our worth. So that can be a topic. And then sexual harassment, of course, we can make part of a monthly meeting discussion. And then as you see, there was a lot of just one person would mention something about science communication to the public, or personal growth, or different master classes, or even having social events. And so what I've written under the table are exact what people had written in. I copy pasted exactly what they wrote into the survey of things that they would want. So the collaborations, or talking about imposter syndrome. So for that, I'll break down one by one to show on the next slide of what we can do. So speaking of collaborations and members, collaborations between members, and also, leadership skills. As I'd mentioned, right here in the Zoom chat, keep an eye out if there's somebody either near your location or interested in your similar scientific discipline. I was also wondering if maybe, and these are things we can discuss once I end this presentation, we can have a meeting where perhaps anyone who wants a collaboration, you can prepare a lightning talk of, 1 minute or 5 minutes, where you introduce your work, and then everyone is there looking for collaborations. And it can even be something that if we record it and put it on the YouTube channel, then the content is there for you to send out and for you to send out. And then, you can, then you have it available for you to show different people for collaborations. So then another topic of discussion was managing rejections and imposter syndrome. So we can absolutely make that part of the work-life balance, and we can also add as part of that discussion the balancing motherhood, which definitely seems like a big need, and that would be wonderful for us to talk about. And then we have the Nigerian subchapter, so giving support to young African women scientists. So we are launching, well, we have already had, but we need to be more consistent with attending monthly subchapter Nigerian meetings. And then for that, we're going to have on the third Saturday of every month. And we will be trying to launch master classes, which will help women in Nigeria with their career progression. And then another person mentioned how to collaborate as a scientist. What is a collaboration? Who is responsible? How to identify collaborators? What are the benefits? So for this, absolutely, we can choose to have one of the monthly meetings be informal and have a discussion where people who have experience with collaborations can talk about it, but also people can share their experiences, for example, with social media posts, which we have Twitter and Instagram until the website is fully launched. And then another person had mentioned awarenesses of activities and ways to support the group. So as you see in the emails I send, it talks about what topics are going to be discussed for the weekend, for the month, but also as you see, anyone who's here today, once I finish this presentation, we're all going to have a big discussion, and we're all going to hear everyone's voices about what the topics will be for each meeting. So today is the day to be heard and to have some say in the events that'll happen for 2022 that will help you. And so also somebody had mentioned that they want to receive notices about grant opportunities. So we have Facebook, LinkedIn, and as I mentioned, Twitter and Instagram. So that's something we'll have to talk about, that perhaps as people stumble upon different funding opportunities, they could just be conveniently added to our LinkedIn page. And then if everyone has access to that and is following that LinkedIn, then that would be a clear way, as long as we have a central location to find out about grant opportunities, and as long as we have people who are posting about that. And so finally, somebody had mentioned, not just grant writing, but winning grant proposals. So as I mentioned, last year in March, we did do a discussion on funding. And then at the end of the 2021, Robin and I, we created these guidelines that I sent to the email list. But if anyone hasn't received them, possibly new members, I can send it again. And that was in relation to the GWIS Fellowship. But of course, the guidelines, for fellowship writing, not just for GWIS, but just in general, we gave some good pointers. And then also there's the opportunity for one-on-one mentoring within the group. So for that, you see, you can be at these meetings and see who else is attending. And also, as I mentioned, look up in the directory. But mostly, at the meetings is when we get to know each other's personalities. So that's where, now we can break this all down. And the idea is to have 2 meetings a month. So one will be informal and one will be more formal topic where we get panels. And so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to create the programs for the next 6 months, for February until May, whereas June will be the national meeting. So most likely we won't have a chapter meeting for that, and we'll encourage everyone to attend the national meeting. So already for January, aside from today's meeting where I'm going over all this stuff and we're going to discuss programming, what I want to just mention was, in 2 weeks, we're going to have another meeting where it is going to be celebrate the small stuff. So the idea is academia can be quite critical, and even we can all be hard on ourselves as scientists that, we have such long-term goals. So it's hard to see the accomplishments in the daily steps. And so since so many people had mentioned the work-life balance as what they wanted to have as part of the monthly meetings, this will fit into that. So I encourage everyone to join our meeting in 2 weeks, where we will it won't be recorded. Not every meeting is recorded. And something like this where we talk personally, yeah, it won't be recorded. It'll just be a meeting for us to share and celebrate things that are good and that happened in our lives that, you know, usually in the labs or whatever our environment is, we're too busy to celebrate. We just have to move on because there's always more work to do, always more reading to do, always more funding to apply for in recruiting people. So this will be the start of work-life balance initiative within this chapter, within the chapter meetings. And so the last thing I just want to mention also regarding the 2022 programming ideas, you know, it was 10 years ago that the international chapter was even a concept. So that's when the chapter notions were beginning. We became an official chapter with the charter in March of 2013. So definitely in 2023, we need to do something to celebrate the 10 years that we've been going strong. And so, as I mentioned, we'll meet twice a month. For the second Saturday will be more informal, and this is a great way for people to get involved and to get to meet people. And then the fourth Saturday of the month will be more formal, and that's where it'll most likely be recorded and put on the YouTube channel that is a panel formal discussion so that others within the chapter can be educated. And then the monthly Nigerian subchapter, that'll be every third Saturday, and that will address the career progression for women in Africa and getting on the global stage that they should be because they're doing just such amazing scientific work. The idea is also to do Global Voices, a second round, to collect content after 2 years into the pandemic to see the differences and to highlight, but that will be connected to when the website is up and running. Usually we have social media content with Twitter and Instagram and LinkedIn posts. And if anybody wants to volunteer to post things on any of those, that would be fabulous. It'd be wonderful. We want to hear from you. Robin will discuss a little bit more about the student science fair judging. As I said, it was virtual and it'll be going on again this year. So anyone can do it from anywhere in the world. I want to thank Judy, our domestic president, for setting up a new Facebook page, and we can talk about that and put the link into the Zoom chat so everybody can sign up, because we had an old Facebook page, but I'm shutting it down. And then also for International Women's Day, which I mentioned is always March 8th, you know, there can be ideas if we want to do the speed talk or if we want to do something else, even just social, but definitely considering that we're International Women in Science, we need to acknowledge International Women's Day for 2022. And so I was just showing already on the website, they this is the pose you're supposed to strike, break the bias pose, put in pictures. So perhaps we could do something like that where we make a collage and get all of us doing the break the bias pose and put on social media. So other ideas we'll jump into when we open up the discussion now. And so I just want to say thanks to everyone, to all the officers who have been helping and doing a great job. Let me just stop sharing. Yeah, so I just want to say thanks to all the fellow officers who have been helping and supporting and going strong for 10 years. And so now I will stop the recording, and then this will be the opportunity where we'll go through and organize exactly what the programs are going to be for the next 6 months. So this is the time to hear your voice. And then also any questions that have come up along the way. I haven't had a chance to look at the chat. I see all the chats have been adding up as I've been talking. We'll get into all that and answer all your questions. So thank you for listening, and let me just